What's good, Detroit Sports Nation? I am Eric Vincent, your host here at the DSN News Desk, back again to chop it up with you, the best fan base in the world. I appreciate the time and support. As I just finished watching the Pistons' first preseason game of the year, bit of a beatdown that they caught on national TV against the New York Knicks, 117-96. But of course, we got to recap what we saw, so let's talk about it. Looks like it might be a bit of a long season for this team. I know we were all very excited. I know it was very, very intriguing to see what they did this offseason. But a lot of what we saw is something that we should probably expect, at least for the early part of the season. Again, it was a big beatdown by double digits, 21-point loss, and it looked like a lot of rust that they were knocking off. It looked like they were adjusting to the NBA game, the adjustment of playing together, maybe in new positions. And this is the tough stretches. These are the tough stretches that you're going to have to get used to when watching young teams like the Detroit Pistons. They're going to be exciting some nights, but when these rough games come up, you just got to anticipate it a little bit. Some of these things that we saw that I didn't really like, I think could be corrected, but let's go over some of the things that we didn't recognize. Jaden Ivey was the leading scorer of the team, scoring 16 points, 6 of 9 from the field. Got to the free throw line, hit a nice three-pointer, had a couple nice passes as well. Looked like he was pretty impressive. He kind of settled in and got comfortable. There were a lot of possessions where he was the one bringing up the basketball and initiating the offense instead of Cade Cunningham. So a lot of times we heard Dwayne Casey and Troy Weaver talk about wanting to have multiple ball handlers on the floor at the same time, and we saw them experiment with that a lot. Cade had a little bit of a rough day. Shot 3 of 12, didn't really get much of a rhythm offensively. They called a lot of ticky-tack fouls on him. I guess for whatever reason, the refs want to stick in midseason form and hate on Cade and not give him no calls already. So it looks like we might have to deal with that again as well. It looked like they got some good production out of Bojan Bojanovic. Went 3 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point range, scored 11 points. Killian Hayes, one of the standout performers, looked very aggressive with his jump shot, did a lot of good things to show that he was not afraid of the moment. It really worked on a lot of things. Scored 11 points off the bench, was really aggressive. Again, he wasn't just, normally when we see Killian with the ball, when he's in isolation mode or when he's, trying to create, he normally stops with his dribble and kind of panics and looks lost. He was looking towards the hoop and he was looking for his shot. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to see the Ben Simmons syndrome where, you're just holding the ball, you're not doing nothing with it. You want to see him at the very least shoot the ball and build some confidence. So Killian Hayes, I believe there's an A+ for his performance. Played some pretty good defense, did a really good job of setting up some passes. But what we want to see from him was the scoring prowess. And that confidence seems to be there. So kudos to Killian Hayes from what we saw. Anybody who knows me knows I have a heavy Jalen Duren agenda for this season. I've been saying since they drafted him. I've been saying it since July. He can start right now. If you look at how this team started off, they started their starting lineup with Cade in the backcourt with Jaden Ivey, Saddiq Bey, who had a rough shooting game, 1 of 8 from the field. And then in the front court to round it off, they had Bojan Bojanovic and then Isaiah Stewart at the center. So basically, everybody in that lineup was 6'8" and shorter. And you saw how disgusting that offense was to look at. Without a lob threat, without a big, without anybody to play pick and roll basketball with for the guards, they were struggling. They were struggling to find any kind of rhythm and continuity. They couldn't get any proper spacing because when you looked around, Bojan was doing a lot more dribbling than you want him to do. Now, granted, he can create for himself, and he can go get his own shot if he needs to. But with the guards you have, you saw Cade penetrate a lot and kick to him. He didn't really knock down a whole lot of his shots. But you want him to be able to have the adequate spacing to hit the open shots that the guards are drawing defenders away to keep them open on the perimeter. You want to see that. You want to see them knock down those shots. And they didn't get a whole lot of good spacing with that. And they were limited with what they could do offensively because they didn't have a 7-footer at the rim that could attack the rim and put pressure on the defense on the inside. That's what Jalen Duren does. And you saw that. Beef Stew grabbed 1 rebound in this game. I'm going to repeat that. Beef Stew had 1 rebound in this game. I know it's just preseason, But you have to pay attention to some of these things, even for a young team. If this starts to become a repetition, this is a problem. We already saw last season what this team looked like. Before they traded for Marvin Bagley, we saw what they looked like when they didn't have a lob threat to throw to. When they didn't have a rim runner that was tall and had long arms that could put the pressure on the defense. Every time Beef Stew caught the ball in the paint, the defense collapsed on him. He tried to go for a couple dunks, but that's not his game. He's not putting pressure against defenders like that. That's Jalen Duren's job. That's what he can do. And that's what you drafted him for. That's what Troy Weaver went up in the draft and got him for. People keep talking about how raw he is, if he's like some late second round pick. He's a first round lottery pick. You traded up to get him at number 13. He's more than capable of starting right now. 14 rebounds. Again, got some pretty good pressure defensively as well. I think he had a block shot or two. He was very, very active. He was helping, tip the ball around, getting extra opportunities offensively. And I think this team, this starting lineup specifically, needs a guy like him. I think at this point, their best lineup, I think, would suit with Cade in the backcourt, Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, Bojan as the proven shooter in the front court at the 4, and then Jalen Duren at the 5. You need to have somebody that's a lob threat to play with Cade Cunningham. I don't necessarily want to see it from Marvin Bagley, someone else who kind of struggled a little bit today. Wasn't really his most impressive self. But I think Bagley and Stu serve better off the bench at this point. Beef Stew's best attribute that he brings consistently is that high waist double screen that he does. And you can get that for Killian, who's somebody that needs assistance with getting easy shots at the rim. If he can set those double screens for him, then you can work with that. Jalen Duren's a good screener himself. He'll be able to work hand in hand with Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. That's what you want to see. That's the tandem that you want to see. Now again, yes, it's just preseason. It's not a guarantee that we don't see Jalen Duren starting at some point. We can see Coach Casey tinker around with the lineup just to see what works with this young lineup and with this young roster. They're going to try some different things. This is what preseason is for. This is Cade Cunningham's first preseason of his career. Last season he didn't have one because of his ankle injury. Now he's playing. He's trying to knock some rust off and get familiar with the new pieces around him and with the new expectations that's set on this team. It's just preseason. I know it's early. You want to see a little bit better, though. I want to see them push the ball more. I want to see them play a little bit more pick and roll with a guy like Jalen Duren, because I don't think you can get that same threat with a Beef Stew who doesn't have the rim pressure ability like him. I want to see them try more with those lob threats, because those are the guys that you're going to rely on heavily with this team. But we're going to see more with the Pistons. Their next preseason game is on Friday, I believe, against the New Orleans Pelicans on the road again. And another nice test for this young team. Let's see what they do. Hopefully they can rebound with a little bit of a better performance. Talk to me in the comment section, though. I'd love to hear your thoughts from the game. How are you feeling about Jaden Ivey? Who were you most impressed with on the team? And what would you like to see different moving forward? Talk to me in the comment section. Like the channel as well to show a little bit more support. Of course, tap in and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get that bump up to 5,000 subscribers as we close it in and get closer and closer every day. Thank you all so much for all the support you've been showing on the channel. Of course, check out our social media. Search us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you're checking in with Detroit Sports Nation. And of course, you can follow me as well at I am Eric Vincent on my social media as well. I'll be sure to kick it back here with you with a new update right here from the DSN News Desk soon enough. Peace.